I'm just going to assume that this recording's working. You actually get to see a little gameplay today. I'm actually fucking playing a video game. Holy shit. And I'm not just fucking sitting AFK in Goldshire. I do have. This is the free trial for WoW Retail. I'm probably not gonna play it a whole lot, but somebody said if I play with him, he would pay my subscription. So I'm like, sure, whatever. I'll play WoW with you if you don't want to play Turtle. So, anyways, I did have to recommend a computer with Windows 11 to somebody. This is something that I feel like we're not talking about enough. Is what do you tell people that don't have a choice? So in this case, it is the owner of a pawn shop, and his software, like his office software, would probably work fine, but his fingerprint scanner, which he uses to record images of people's fingerprints for the police, as well as most of his stuff runs in a browser, but his webcam software, it might work with Linux, it probably won't. But basically, his work computer, he doesn't really use a home computer. His only computer is his work computer, and it sits in his shop all day. He has a laptop at home that runs Windows 10, but he doesn't really use it. So, anyways, he started to run into some security incidents, mostly by clicking weird Facebook links, because both his friends and the advertisements were sharing malware-laden links, which isn't good. You don't want that. So, anyways, I said you really need to update your computer because compliance is already getting on your ass about this. Because he needs to be PCI compliant in order to operate his store. The police mandate it. Basically, it's a work thing. You don't get a choice with work. You use whatever you have to in order to basically follow the law for the most part. So I was thinking, I was like, okay, well, Windows 10 support is ending, like in fucking next year, I believe, because people are saying it's ended now. It hasn't ended now. They give you a lifeline for more support, but I don't want to be stuck in the same situation a fucking year later. Where like, okay, now we gotta upgrade to Windows 12, or if that's out, or Windows 11, or whatever the fuck. Now, the problem is he wouldn't let me set him up a computer with LTSC, and he did have a point that it might not be in compliance if we use LTSC. So that's something that may happen. But I said, fuck it, man. We're like, his other problem was I/O because he didn't want a mini PC because it required too many extra peripherals like speakers and um, more USB ports, USB hub, all that other shit. He didn't want it. So I said, okay, whatever. I don't care. Just I will help you buy a computer, and we'll do that. So what we ended up dealing with was he bought a computer on eBay. I really hate these listings, man. I hate buying used computers because you never know what the fuck you're gonna get. Basically, like you can't really what the fuck. I didn't give you fucking healing skills. Why does it do that? Why would they do that? Okay, okay, I gotta go change my fucking skills. Anyways, so it said it had built-in speakers. It said it had DisplayPort and HDMI, which is what he needs. He just needs HDMI. I think his monitor is HDMI. It needs. I don't even think it needs Wi-Fi, really. But basically, it had all the USB ports he needed. It had all the I/O, basically, all that. And so I said, fuck it, it's like $200. It says it has an i5 in it. What the fuck kind of i5 in it has, I don't know. It says it comes with either 10 or 11. So that's not cool. Alright, give me my fucking, there we go. Alright, there we go. Um, so we had to order a computer for a bit under $200. He said it just came in, so he needs to bring it in the shop. I don't have an HDMI monitor, but I do have a HDMI to VGA adapter, and I gave him a VGA monitor that I had lying around. because I have like a bunch of old office monitors I use for test benches. By the way, if you don't have a collection of not good keyboards, but if you don't have a collection of shitty keyboards and you don't have like a collection of shitty mice and shitty monitors, can you even call yourself a nerd? Really, can you? I'm joking. But yeah, so he ordered the computer. I told him just get this one. I don't know what the fuck it's gonna come with. It could be too old for 11. I don't fucking know. This could be E-Waste. This could be a third gen i5 or whatever. I wouldn't know. You know. So it's confusing. Like I don't like having to deal with these requirements because it's really hard to ensure that a computer you get has all the requirements, but I also need him to be up to date and secure. He can't run Linux. So Windows 11 it is, and that's something I wish that I'm sure that Linux users understand that not everybody can run Linux. I mean, that's always an argument that people have is fucking creative software and all that work and keep your, it's like a video I made, keep your work life and your personal life separate, you know? He uses his computer for work, so his home computer can run whatever the fuck he wants it to run. You know, he could run a Chromebook for all I care. But this work computer, man, like I had to recommend something. You know, I had to give him something. And it had to be up to date so he wouldn't run into he's still gonna run into these fucking Facebook things. Like it I actually didn't save him from anything. The only thing I did was ensure that he's not being exploited on a old version of Chrome because he was using an old version of Google Chrome and I had to switch into an old version of Firefox. So I think he's like on an ESR release of Firefox. Anyways, Firefox is a whole separate story about why web developers hate supporting Firefox because there's like 500 versions of Firefox you have to support for people still using fucking XP, you know? So, yeah, like, this is something you are eventually going to have to deal with if you consider yourself the techie of your family or whatever, is there will be a reckoning where your family does have to upgrade and they're not going to be able to upgrade to Linux. I would say honestly, like if you can actually like if you can switch off Windows, people always recommend Chrome OS Flex, and I'm like, yeah, that's cool. You know that is something you can do. Uh, but it's basically Chrome OS. You know, so it's Chrome OS, and you are not running a Chromebook. Because yeah, you can just run your own hardware, but there are, I wouldn't say that you're likely to be hacked because you have an old CPU that hasn't received a microcode update. Because generally they're pretty good about severe vulnerabilities getting patched regardless of state. You know, it's only like Cube's OS that's like, oh, you have to run a relatively new computer or else you're gonna get hacked or whatever, and it's not as secure. It's like, yeah, but my threat model isn't really somebody fucking exploiting Ghost Raid on my RISC-V SBC or Meltdown on fucking Intel CPU. Not that that doesn't have mitigations, you know? Because yeah, you can get mitigations for most things, so that's cool. Um, but yeah, start thinking about that. Like, if you're dealing with people that don't have an option with what operating system they use, you do need to figure out. I would always recommend being familiar at least with Windows, not only installing Windows, but writing USBs, figuring out how to do it from Linux, figuring out what LTSC is for, because that was why I recommended LTSC was he doesn't like his computer updating. That's why he uses Windows 7. So with 11, he's gonna get it, especially because this shit's gonna come with like Windows 11 Home or Pro or whatever. So that's not gonna happen. He's gonna get updates like every 2 fucking seconds, you know? So, I hate these stupid horse quests, these are so annoying. Alright, get the fuck out of here. Um, so yeah, he's going to have a Windows 11 machine very soon. Now, what I offered him was he would have no downtime, because that was his first idea was go to the computer repair store next door and just have them do it for him. because they said they could do it in like a day, you know? And so he said, but I don't want a day of downtime. I said, just come in on a Sunday, then you don't work on Sunday. I'll do it on Sunday. And he said, no, no, it's got to be in place. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to try and get a one-to-one mirror of all of his software, all of his documents, his backups, and everything on this new computer, and just kind of pray that it works out for him. Because what I learned, he got me a deal with this guy. I had an old ThinkPad, and it was like BIOS modded. It was really cool, but he had me sell it to this like really old boomer, and this boomer had only used Windows 8, so he expected everything to work like Windows 8 did. And I said, dude, I've never used Windows 8, but even if I did, you can't even access the internet on it anymore because your fucking certs will be expired. You know, like you won't be able to do like an SSL handshake or anything. So that's kind of something, you know, that's a little something there. So I gave him like Windows 10 or 11. I think I gave him 10 LTSC because that was like the only thing I could get running on it really. Alright, so this guy's gonna die in like 2 fucking seconds. What's this? Okay. Yeah, hopefully I don't die here. But anyways, so we're dealing with this computer, and I'm going to have to set up a demo machine with limited shop space. Just kind of pray that everything goes. And after that, you know, like he should have a. But the reason why I said that he's not really going to be all that secure is, you know, he's gonna run into these update problems. He's gonna run into fucking all this other bullshit. You know, it's gonna suck, and he's still gonna see these pop-ups because they're from where the fuck am I going? Anyways, um, so he's going to experience these updates. He's gonna have to deal with the UI changes. It's gonna be a problem. So that's kind of where we're at right now. But I wanted you to think about this for a second. Is what are you going to recommend people when they're looking for a new computer? Because I ended up having to recommend just buy a new computer, you know, and that's the price he's gonna pay for what he's doing. Where I could have done an in-place upgrade, but I can't really do a whole lot, you know. So it's costing him a lot of money now, and it has basically created e-waste out of his old computer. He'll probably just give me his old computer, honestly, but I don't know, you know, and then I'll figure out a use for it. Because it's actually a nice computer. It's got like an i5 6500, I think, and probably 8 gigs, 4 gigs of RAM, maybe. It's actually half decent. You know, it would make a good web server or something. I don't know. I'll find use for it, basically. Honestly, I might even put Windows 11 on it and fucking, you know, run my repair tools on that instead of my mini PC. I don't even know. I could be doing a lot of things. So that'll be interesting to see how this goes, because I'm sure it's going to be a fucking nightmare and it's going to suck. But, you know, what am I supposed to do? You know, I offered him the help, so. But yeah, that's what we'll be dealing with for. Fucker. That's what I'll be dealing with for the next few days. He's got to bring in his computer so I can see it, but I need to call him actually. Make sure he's ready. But yeah, it's gonna be a trip. Sorry, that was like a 14-minute video of a lot of ums and ahs. So yeah, start thinking about that, what you're gonna do for people now that 10 is close to ending, because people still need upgrades to their computers. And Windows 11 sadly is the option for them. You know, it's not for us, obviously, because we use Linux, but for people that need it for work or something, like, what do you do? You know? So think about that, become familiar with Windows and their tools, and I don't know, survive. See ya.